Welcome to Marriage Matters. We're glad you joined us today. Originally, we had planned to be outside in our garden, but it's so hot here that we're back in the house today. And if this is your first time viewing a video, we have a series of videos on marriage matters. We'd like for you to check those out as well. Today, we're going to address a subject that we have talked about a little bit about before, but we'll get into it in just a moment.
Recently, this month, June is the month for weddings, and I have seen so many beautiful pictures, beautiful brides, garden weddings, just so many on Facebook and other places, and you probably have too. And I smile at the beauty of the weddings or the beauty of the brides, but then there's a sadness that I get too, because they say 1 in 10 marriages will end the first year. So all of that beautiful preparation, and it's over in 1 year. And another sad thing is the average first marriage lasts 8 years. And that makes me sad too. It makes me sad about marriages ending up because, I don't know if we've been married 61 years, and I can't describe the joy, this everyday joy that I feel with him and know with him. And I think a lot of times people give up without the work it takes.
Well, we're going to talk about how we have made it this far in our marriage. And it's been a great journey, but it takes work. And we've mentioned that before. We can't overemphasize how important it is that a couple work together to develop a strong, healthy, long-lasting, vibrant, exciting marriage.
In one of our videos, the video "Want to Survive, Keep Passion Alive," that's been our most popular so far. And if you haven't seen that, maybe you would like to go back and look at that one. But in there, we talked about the average time to fall out of love is about 2 years. This is what experts say. People stay in love that really, what do you call it, feel good puppy love stage, or just really for 2 years. And then, things happen.
Well, you gradually get to know each other. Maybe you didn't know each other very well at the beginning. Usually a dating period takes some time, a few years, and during that you should really get to know one another before you say I do.
But we have discovered the number one cause of divorces, whether it's first year, I don't know the first year, but 8 years, 12 years, 20 years, 40 years, it's still, in today's time, it's 41 to 50%, depending on the research. I mean, there are all kinds of statistics, but end in divorce. And the number one cause for the early divorces, they say, is lack of commitment.
Well, it takes two people committed, and commitment means you give all your resources and you work together. You're not going to give up. You're not going to file for divorce. You're not going to.
You pledge. You promise that. You promise that in the marriage vows.
Yeah.
But we're going to be honest today. We have 4 children. 3 of our 4 children are divorced. 1 after 22 years, 1 after 25 years, and 1 after 31 years. Now, all of them were committed. They were committed. And, but we believe, Tom and I believe, it takes more than commitment. You got to have commitment, right?
Well, commitment is, it's the foundation really for the marriage. But if you don't have some other factors there at work along with commitment, it can just be dry and cold, and it only lasts so long. If you don't have a deep abiding love for one another, commitment just eventually goes away.
Well, our children, all of them were committed because of Christian values. They just thought
They didn't believe that divorce was a viable option for them.
But they found out
That
it's the only one that they had at the moment. So we think, even though commitment is a foundation, compatibility
is if you want to use as an analogy, the development of a house, then commitment's the foundation, but compatibility is the framework or the structure for the home or the marriage.
And simply speaking, compatibility is getting along well. Just, you get along well. The building goes up well, if you're talking about a building. And that means you agree on your values are similar, your beliefs are similar, your parenting skills are similar. And how does my personality align with his?
Well, we've not said very much about personality types, and I have been trained to give those evaluations. And maybe this is not the place to expand on that, but I will say your personality is very important in how the two of you can be compatible. I remember a couple a number of years ago, their personalities were very similar, and they had arguments all the time, and eventually that marriage ended in a divorce because they were too much alike. Now, you've probably heard the expression opposites attract, and I suppose there is an element of truth in that if a woman is more quiet and reserved, and she sees this guy who's more outspoken and very confident, and she says, oh, he has all the qualities that I don't have, so I'm attracted to him. And that works both ways. And so sometimes when a couple comes together and they are really different, they have to work through those differences to become more compatible. And sometimes when you're very compatible at the start, that creates a lot of tension because, I don't have to go into detail about that, but it does cause problems. So compatibility is a work of art, and you have to work at it. As we've said, it's not easy. It doesn't. Now, Barb and I are very compatible.
Well,
we've had to work at it too.
Right. Well, you do things together. Compatibility means if you're getting along well, you do things together. Now we're old school. Tom doesn't game, and I know that's a big thing for a lot of younger men today, and I don't know how you do that.
Well, she's talking about gaming on the internet and all that kind of thing.
People know gaming, I bet. But what we've done together is we've always hiked and walked in the woods. We garden together.
We like outdoor activities, and we live outdoors basically
yeah.
in the summer.
But even at night in the winters, we do puzzles together, or we play bananagrams. Y'all would think that's boring, I bet. But you have to find things you enjoy doing together, and that just, along with working through your values and your beliefs, and so you just have to find things that you do together. You just have to do that.
Well, we watch movies together. We do the Hallmark thing for Barb. She loves those Hallmark movies, and I watch them too. But it's not what we do together. It's the fact that we are together in what we do.
In what we do.
Yeah, that's more important.
That's good. If there's a verse in Ecclesiastes 9:9, it's one of my favorites. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. That's to men, but it says enjoy. You've got to find things that you enjoy together in life. I mean, 60 years is a long time, and there is not a person in the world I'd rather take a walk with. He's my favorite person to weed with.
Well,
We weed together in the garden.
She's my best friend, and I'm her best friend, and we were friends before we became lovers, I guess you put it that way. But we've always been close in a binding friendship, and that's based on compatibility. A lot of that is just that we like to be with each other.
And I would say here, before we go any further, if you're married 1 year, 3 years, 7 years, and you're finding that you'd rather do things, you're committed to your marriage, but you'd rather do things with somebody else. You'd rather play tennis with the guy at the office, or we hope it's not the girl at the office, or you'd rather just be by yourself and not look for ways to be together. Compatibility, if you might have commitment, but if you don't do things together, when I think of our children who divorced, they didn't do things together.
They didn't have the kind of compatibility and they didn't work at it. I won't say they didn't work at their marriage, but they had a really difficult time sharing the same interests with each other.
And maybe we didn't teach them, and then maybe that's why I am so excited about doing these. Our children, we taught them what we knew about marriage, and they saw it and they were committed, but maybe we didn't teach them enough, or to maybe have them read books. 2 of our children wanted to get married at 16. We had to really talk them out of that because they thought they would have what we had, just to get married, and it would be wonderful. Well, you know what? It takes work, and as we'll mention again over and over again. So find something you enjoy together. It can be simple, but an hour a week to start with, but you've got to do something together that you really love. And so in reading this week or last week, as I start researching on commitment and compatibility, I ran across our secret. People have always asked me, what is your secret? Even when we were married 52 years or 61 years or now, what is your secret? And I used to tell them, it's the fact that I had never gotten over the wonder that he chose me. I just never did. It's just always made me happy. But I read, somebody said this was a reason for marriages. It was one of the factors for compatibility in marriage, and they listed 5 factors. One was chemistry. One was sexual chemistry, and those are different. Shared interest.
That's what we've just been talking about in compatibility.
Shared values, and the ability or the capacity to build together.
To build your relationship, yeah.
So I thought when I read that, I got so excited. I said, that's us. That's our secret. Because in the video, Want to Survive, Keep Passion Alive, we talk about, I lost my train of thought. Chemistry. We talk about chemistry being so much more than sexual chemistry. When I think of him, when he used to walk into a room, I knew it was him, and my heart flipped, So, and if he's gone all day, I can't wait till he gets home. And doesn't mean I sit around and think about him and, I don't have a life. I do things I love and enjoy. And, but he's the exciting part of my life.
Well, it's kind of like electricity, I guess. It is a chemistry between personalities, and sometimes it's just very difficult to explain. It's like we told our kids, they'd say, how how will we know when we're in love? And well, I don't know, just you'll know. And so chemistry is kind of that way. You can't explain it, but it's there. You feel it. And we've had that since day one. And we
Doesn't
still
mean we don't have problems or we haven't had problems.
No,
We
and-
talked about that in conflict. But when you're compatible, it's kind of easier to handle conflicts. So commitment is a must in a marriage. You promise that if you think about a marriage vows. In one of the books I looked over this week, he says he tells his clients to repeat the marriage vows every week to each other. And that keeps it in front of you. I promise to love you. I promise to take care of you. And but commitment is a must.
You know, as a pastor, I don't know, I haven't counted, but I have performed a lot of weddings over 50 plus years. And just about every single one of them in the vows said, we promise to love and cherish each other until death separates us. And that's commitment. And, you know, we say that early on. Everybody has stars in their eyes about their marriage is going to last forever. And you say that up front, but it's more than just words. It's work. And you have to work at it.
Right. You have to work at it. You have got to find those compatibility spots in your marriage. And if they don't come naturally. Kids are not your compatibility spot, okay? And housework is not your compatibility spot, even though he can help me. He has helped me through the years, most recently because of my ankle break, but he never did that before. But a compatibility spot is something you really enjoy. You want to do that with each other more than you want to do with anybody else. So, and you have to communicate these things. Not only does it take work, you have to communicate. Have written down all the C's of marriage. It seems like that's the one letter you have in marriage. You have commitment and compatibility and communication and chemistry and change and compromise and Christ-centeredness. If you're a Christian, you want that in your marriage. So there are many C's. We could write a book on C's, honey.
We could. You could.
So I want to ask you today, are you committed? Will you commit? You've said your vows, you promised, you pledged, but will you commit to work on your marriage to find your compatibility areas? And you can learn those. You can learn those. There are book helps out there. The books we've mentioned. You want to say?
Yeah, you need to be committed to work. Either attend a seminar, read a book, watch some videos such as you're watching now. But at least do it together and then talk about it. What are the things that we need to work on? What are the areas that maybe I could say to her, do you have a need that I'm not meeting? Or she could say that to me. Because meeting each other's needs develops and builds compatibility.
And there's one book, we will share more about that later, but his needs, her needs.
Yeah, we've talked about that one before. It's a very important book, very helpful book for any relationship.
But being compatible means you play together, you work together, you pray together, you read and study together. But it's the togetherness, that's the compatibility part. And I think if you have that, you're going to make it past the first year and the 7th year and the 20th year because you're working together. And so as we close now, the other C word is chemistry. We thought we might get into that today.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a separate one on that.
On both kinds of chemistry, not just sexual chemistry, but the chemistry of the relationship you share. So
some have said if you play together, you can stay together. Or if you pray together, you can stay together. And I think that's true. So commit to those things that we've talked about today and work together.
Work.
You're going to find
We'll make it.
Reward for all your effort.
It is wonderful after 61 years. Trust me.
Okay, for today, until the next video, we say goodbye and God bless.
This one?